All right, no other way to do it then. Let's roll.
Monty, how nice is it to not be necessarily one of these teams that actively looking for your franchise quarterback?
Yeah, I think it's a good position to be in. I think the way Kyler came back at the end of the year um, gave us all a lot of confidence. The way the offense hit their stride, both running the football, throwing the football, and just getting Kyler's health back to a point where he could use his legs, use his arms, do the things that we're accustomed to seeing. So, I think as always, we're going to evaluate every position that comes in the draft. But knowing that Kyler is where he's at, and not only where he's at, but getting better and seeing him work and progress the way he is, I think it's an exciting spot to be in.
When's the last year been like for you in terms of learning the position, growing into the role?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, Josh. Is learning every day. Something new every day. Things that you can't really prepare for. You have ideas and ways that you think you want to do things, and you implement processes and structures and get those put in there, and then find out that something else completely different comes your way. So I think every day is different, and just reflecting back on last year at this time, it was a little bit of a whirlwind. And there was coaches that were coming here on our staff that I had yet to meet. And, it was the first time here that we had all been together as a staff. And so having things like that in place and having, our meeting schedule in place and coaches understanding what I would ask of them and our scouts knowing what I would ask of them. I mean, that's put us in a much better place in terms of the structure of what we're trying to do.
Monty, you guys had some health issues at receiver last year. How would you assess where you are in that position?
Yeah, and I think receiver, whether we're talking about receiver or any position, as we're trying to improve. And so we did get banged up there a little bit towards the end of the season, and had to have some guys step up, and it was some guys got banged up, came back, some guys weren't able to come back, and so that's unfortunately that's the nature of the NFL. It's the worst part of this game. Injuries are inevitable over a 17-game schedule, and so that position we got hit a little bit there, and so the more that we can add talent, add depth at any position, and receiver put that up there too. That's something that we're going to look forward to doing here in the offseason.
Do you think that Michael Wilson can be a number one wide receiver?
Yeah, I think everybody starts putting labels on guys like number one this, number one that. I think Michael Wilson is a very talented receiver, and I think he showed that last year. He made a ton of plays for us as a receiver, run after the catch, catching the ball in contested situations. An underrated part of Mike's game is his blocking ability, which is important in our run game. And so, I'm not going to put a label on Mike. All I know is that I'm glad Mike's on our team, and he's a good player, and he's only going to continue to get better. And we're looking forward to having him moving into 2024.
When you analyze Trey McBride's goals last year, you kind of starting that tier up with Andrews and Kelsey,
Yeah, I mean Trey was a fun player to watch last year. I mean the way he continued to progress as the season went. He's another guy that the tight end position is such a unique one that it's a position that you can affect the game on so many levels. It's run game, pass game, it's run after the catch, and really Trey being able to affect the game in all of those ways as a tight end, and it's a difficult position to defend. It puts a lot of stress on the defense. So, really excited with the progression that Trey showed throughout the year, and really think that there's more there for Trey to do as we progress with him. But excited that we have him, and excited that we got him moving forward.
how different do you think you'll attack free agency this year compared to last?
Yeah, and I think free agency is it's a challenge every year. I think it's there's a couple components to it. It's understanding the evaluation of the player and evaluating the player how he fits our specific schemes, right? But then take it a step further. There's a valuation of the player that a marketplace goes into determining what the league values those players at, and so it's really twofold. It's the evaluation and the valuation in free agency, and so I think those are things that we're ongoing right now. We went through free agency meetings with the coaching staff last week. Was great to get their input, and I think that over the next couple of weeks here, I think that the marketplace really, once we get into that the legal tampering period, whatever that means, I think the market then starts to declare itself, and so then I think when you marry those things, that if there's an evaluation that we like, and then the market says the value is a place that we like, we're going to strike, and we'll be aggressive in that, knowing that hey, that's a way that we can improve our roster, but also being smart about it and making smart choices for our team, not only this year, but it's got ramifications moving forward too.
Monty,
There.
what are your feelings about the importance of having a better backup quarterback, or where do you feel Clayton Tune?
Yeah, so Clayton made a lot of strides last year. It's hard to come in as a rookie and play, and especially in Clayton's position when he wasn't getting all the reps during the season. That's the nature of being a backup quarterback. And so, I think Clayton made strides last year. I think he's got to make strides, as do all of our rookies. I think he's got to make strides this year. So, I think there's value in having veterans at any position. I think it provides a sounding board and for younger players. But ultimately, it's going to end up being who can do the job at the highest, their highest capability. And so, whether that's a young player or an old player, like we're going to make that best decision. But excited with Clayton. Clayton's been in the facility a lot here these last couple of weeks, working, trying to get better. And so, we're excited to work with him moving forward. I don't, but if you guys do, I'd take all suggestions, So that's one of the challenges of the draft, is trying to anticipate. I don't think we're quite at that point yet where we're going to try to figure out what's going to go on in front of us. We're still in the evaluation of our own board and trying to get guys where we think and the value and putting them where we think for our team. Further down the line, maybe once we get into the middle of April, the last couple of weeks leading up to the draft, then we'll start to try to predict what might happen in front of us, behind us, around us, and that's part of the strategy of the draft. So, right now I don't have an idea of where that's going to go. That probably will come into light here in the next couple months.
What kind of player,
When you look at the film of a guy like Marvin Harrison, what would you say is the first thing that pops out about him?
Yeah, hey, Marvin's been a great player. He's been a productive player here these last couple of years. It's a strong receiver draft. It is, and so there's good players at the top of the draft. There's good depth throughout the mid rounds. And so you can certainly put Marvin in that mix. And so, really don't want to get into like an individual scouting report right now. All I can tell you is that, hey, like we've done a lot of work on Marvin just as we have the rest of the draft, and excited to continue to work him through the process here in the next couple of months. How are you?
Good.
Good to see you. Yeah.
A little bit of an older draft class that they still work through being affected by the COVID years.
Yeah.
How does that factor into the process?
Yeah, no, I think we're still feeling the effects of that. I think really that what I've, at least in my opinion, what I've seen is that has affected the later rounds of the draft and certainly undrafted free agency. And I think the other part that affects that is when you combine that with the NIL that's hitting college football. It's more attractive for players that may not be first, second, third, fourth round draft picks to stay in school. So when you add in the ability for guys to stay in school an extra year with the COVID year, along with it's more attractive financially for players to stay in, I think it's really hampered the depth of the draft, specifically when you get to that last day, and then certainly undrafted free agency. Okay. Yeah, I think roster construction in general, it comes in various forms. It comes in forms throughout the season. And just so happens that two of the biggest times to add to our roster come back to back here between free agency and the draft. So, I think whatever you're talking about, whether you're talking about spending money in free agency, spending draft capital, it's a commitment. And once you commit to one area, whether it's financially or with a high draft pick, it takes you out of doing that to another area. And so, I think anytime that we can add talented players that we think fit us both culturally and on the field, like we're going to investigate every avenue to do that, no matter how that comes about. Danny. Yeah, so I thought Zaven had a good year for us last year. We went through a transition with him just positionally. Got back to some things that he did in Tulsa coming out of college. And so, I thought Zaven made a lot of great strides throughout the season, was out there for us, a lot of snaps, played the whole year. And, I think with him, as with all of our players, I think we expect to see a jump from year one to year two. His comfort level, just getting more used to the position. In terms of the fifth year option, and we got some time on that, and we're going to continue to figure that out here as we go. We got a couple months to figure that out. And that again, it's a part of the bigger discussion as it goes to building our roster, just the roster construction, not only for 2024, but 2025. So, we'll work through that, but certainly excited that we have Zaven. Zaven, I thought, again, made great strides last year. And we're excited. I think he's going to make another step this year. You bet. Yeah, it's a good question. Running back is a tricky one. I don't know. It's hard for me to say. Really not going to make any predictions on that. I think it really we'll see in a couple of weeks. It really, hey, the market goes to, whatever someone's willing to pay. And so, I always get reminded, like when I was a kid, right? I collected baseball cards. And so every month I'd buy the Beckett baseball card monthly, and I'd open it up and say, oh, I'd take it to my dad and say, oh, I got this card and it's worth this much. And my dad's response is like, no, it's worth whatever somebody's willing to pay you for it. And so, unfortunately, that's a little bit what the free agency market is, whether it's running backs or any position. So it's really got to kind of wait and see how the market bears out.
How is rehab going, and how does that injury really kind of play with how you plan for next year, not knowing exactly what?
Yeah, that's a hard injury, Darren, and it was hard. It was too bad. Unfortunate for Hump, just the timing of the injury and when it happened, and it's a difficult situation. So all I can say is that Hump's been in the facility every day. He's grinding through rehab, and I know he's going to put himself in the best position to get himself ready to play. It's a tough situation. Again, it goes back to the unfortunate nature of injuries in football, and I know Hump's going to do everything that he can do to get himself back out on the field.
With Marvin Harrison not doing any of the on-field stuff here, how do you feel about guys kind of skipping the combine screening, combine stuff here in lieu of football?
Unfortunately, it is what it is. I can't. I think that's an individual decision that each person's going to have to make for themselves. Certainly, for me, more information is the better. But I respect anybody's decision to choose what they want to do, and I think it's something that we've dealt with here the last few years, and I think we'll continue to deal with it. We'll just continue to gather the information that we can when it's available, and we'll make the best decisions that we can with the information that we have. Yeah, and I think with whether it's Paris or anybody, I think versatility is something that we're always going to value in our program. So whether that's left side, right side, if it's at another position, it's inside, outside. The more versatile that you can be, the more value that you're going to bring to the team. And so specifically with offensive linemen, any offensive lineman that can play more than one position certainly bring more value to the roster. So we're all for it. The more that we can get guys to be able to do more than one thing, it adds value to the roster. Yeah, staff continuity is really important for us, Howard. I love our staff. We got a good young staff. I think they too. I mean, we talk about with our players, we talk about with our scouts, we'll talk about with our coaches. I mean, it's on them to get better too the second year, just like it's on our scouts to improve every year. So, that we can keep that messaging the same going forward, that we continue, our players know how the messaging is going to be, our players know about the scheme. I think that's very important, and we're excited with our staff that we have right now in place. Yeah, I mean the quarterback position. Hey, it's a hard position to evaluate. It is, and that's why I'd say the history of the draft is that there's guys that hit and there's guys that don't. And so, when it comes to, I think anytime we talk about the quarterback position, anytime we talk about accuracy and decision making, those are going to be at the top of my list when it comes to a quarterback. So, I think there's a lot of things that go into what makes a good quarterback, not only the on field but the off field. But I think that's why that position is such a challenging evaluation for a lot of people in the league.
Is there a comfort
Omar?
We talked a lot about you guys establishing a good culture this past season, year one for you guys. Now as you head into year two,
Are you at the point where you start looking to draft guys into that culture, or are you just still looking for talent?
Yeah, Omar, I think anytime that we add a player to our building, we're going to talk about the fit, not only on the field, but off the field as well. And so that's why this week is such a big step in that process, is that we can meet with players, we can compare the information that we have coming in here to our take once we get a chance to sit down across from them. Ultimately, we owe it to the locker room to bring in people that have the right mindset and are going to do the things that we ask them to do to put our team in the best position to win. So, I mean, I would put the character and the football makeup of a player as much as important as the on-field ability.
how would you describe that culture that you guys have established?
Yeah, and I think really the culture that when we talk about it is guys that are willing to put the team first, the guys that are going to put winning above any individual interests. Because ultimately, if we win, individual accolades, individual success is going to follow. And so, guys that have that mentality, that are mature, accountable, dependable, guys that are going to attack their job and with the goal to win, those are the type of guys that we're going to add. Sure.
With Harris having the success that he had last year, is there a comfort level for you? You know, Ohio State guys that seem to do well at the next level, or is it individual prospect to prospect?
Yeah, I think that goes individual prospect to prospect. I mean, there's certain guys come from certain programs, and we have a little bit, maybe we have some familiarity with that program. We know what guys have been asked to do. Other program we might not know. I think really it comes down to prospect is prospect, how we evaluate them both on the field and off the field. And I think really to say that just because a guy comes from one school, it really doesn't translate to everybody. So it's something that we have to evaluate on an individual basis.
You said that Greg Dortch. I mean, Greg Dortch, when I watch him, he's explosive. What type of play do you really think he can be?
Yeah, I mean, I think Greg's made a lot of plays. Greg's made a lot of plays before I got here. Greg made a lot of plays when he got his opportunity. So, Greg's a guy who's always ready to take advantage of whatever opportunity he gets. And when he's taking advantage of those opportunities, he earns more opportunities. So, Greg does a great job for us. Greg's tough. He's physical after the catch for a smaller guy. He took a step as a punt returner last year. So, Greg made a lot of plays for us, and he's going to make a lot of plays for us next year.
It's exclusive rights, so you guys gonna pick it up?
Bye, man. Yeah, and I don't we're never going to pigeon ourselves into, hey, we need this position at that spot. Really, we're going to take a look at the board, and we're going to have a plan for guys that we like and guys that fit us. But no, I don't see a situation where we would say, hey, we're going to target this certain position later in the draft.
With Dortch and Ledbetter being exclusive rights guys, you sport is bringing them back.
Yeah, and I think that's a process that we're going through right now, Bo. I think that again, it's a part of a bigger picture view of just the roster and how we're going to construct it. Because unfortunately, there's a salary cap and how those pieces fit together. So those are discussions that we're going through right now. But think the world of those two guys, and they've made a lot of plays, played a lot of snaps for us, and so we're going to put that piece together here as we go. No, I have not. If you guys hear anything, come let me know. So, no, I'm not surprised. No, we're sitting here at the end of February. We got a ways to go on that. I think everybody's still in the middle of their evaluation process. I think there's a lot of unknown right now about, again, somebody asked a question earlier about what's going to happen in front of us. I mean, we can sit here, somebody could say, hey, I think I know what's going to happen, and nobody knows. So, I think those discussions, Josh, I think those happen more as we get closer to the draft into April. And I think that's what happened last year. We didn't have a lot of discussions over our pick last year at this time. And even if we did, they would be so surface level that I don't think I could put any credence into them anyway. So I'm sure those calls will come, and I mean, we're going to make our fair share of calls too. I think last year we proved that we were more than willing to move up, to move back, to stay put and pick. So, I think those discussions will come a little bit further down the road.
What's the medical status of John Gaines?
Yeah. John was off to a good start. Yeah, and unfortunately, man, we keep coming back to these injuries. Man, it's too bad. But John is doing well. John is doing really well. He's in the building every day. He's rehabbing with us on site. I love John. John's got a good future ahead of him. It was unfortunate, with that injury happening in that third preseason game. But he's making progress. He's getting better. He's grinding through his rehab, and we're excited to get to a point where we can get him back out on the field. So, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, you bet.